Chapter 1, The Birth of a Dreamer. On a crisp morning in Brookline, Massachusetts, on May 29, 1917, a boy was born who would one day inspire a nation to look up at the stars. His name was John Fitzgerald Kennedy, but everyone just called him Jack. Born into wealth and privilege, Jack was the second of 9 children in a family that encouraged ambition, curiosity, and service to the country. Though young Jack was often sick as a child or plagued by ailments like scarlet fever, he was always a fighter, never one to let illness stop him from dreaming big. Jack's early days were filled with books, laughter, and lessons in leadership from his father, Joseph Kennedy. But Jack had a rebellious streak, too. He once told his mother, "I'd rather live for a day like a lion than live forever like a lamb." His mother, Rose, shook her head, but deep down, she knew Jack's boldness would carry him far. Even as a child, Jack showed a keen interest in history and leadership. He would sit for hours, reading about ancient civilizations, great wars, and the lives of past presidents. One day, while playing with his brothers, Jack declared, "Someday, I'll be president and lead this country to do something no one has ever done before." His brothers laughed, but Jack wasn't joking. As Jack grew older, his dream of serving his country solidified. Despite his chronic health issues, he joined the Navy, served heroically in World War II, and eventually returned home a decorated war hero. But the idea of public service never left him. He wasn't just interested in power, he wanted to make a difference. His early years were filled with these small seeds of ambition that would later grow into a vision for the future, a future that involved rockets, stars, and the impossible dream of landing on the moon. Chapter 2, A Rising Political Star. In 1946, fresh out of the Navy and armed with a charm that could melt even the toughest political opponent, Jack Kennedy ran for Congress. He was young, handsome, and full of ideas. "What this country needs is a leader who can inspire the people," he declared in one of his first speeches. His passion for public service, mixed with his razor-sharp wit, made him a favorite among voters. Kennedy's rise in politics was meteoric. By 1953, he had made his way to the U.S. Senate. But it wasn't an easy road. Behind the scenes, Jack struggled with chronic back pain that required multiple surgeries. He would often joke, "I might be down for a while, but don't count me out just yet." They don't make cast big enough to hold back a Kennedy. His sense of humor kept him going, even during the toughest moments. During one particularly grueling campaign, when asked about his youthful appearance, he quipped, "I'll make my opponent look so old, he'll be the only guy at his own rally shouting, 'I knew George Washington personally.'" But Kennedy's mind was not just on politics, it was on the future. He was fascinated by space. Growing up in the age of rapid technological advancements, Kennedy saw space as the next frontier. He read every article he could find on rockets, satellites, and the possibility of space travel. One night, after a long day on the campaign trail, he confided to his brother Bobby, "I don't know what it is, Bobby. But something tells me we're destined for more than just politics. We've got to shoot for the stars." Literally. This vision would grow stronger over time, but first, Kennedy had to achieve his political dreams. And in 1960, he did just that, defeating Richard Nixon in a narrow and controversial presidential race to become the youngest man ever elected president of the United States. His campaign slogan, "A New Frontier," wasn't just about policy, it was about the stars above. Chapter 3, A President's Vision. John F. Kennedy's inauguration in January 1961 was a moment of promise, filled with the youthful optimism that he carried into office. In his famous inaugural address, he issued a challenge to the American people: ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. But behind the scenes, Kennedy was already setting his sights on something far grander than anyone could have imagined. The Cold War was in full swing, and the Soviet Union had just launched Yuri Gagarin, the first human, into space. The US was trailing in the space race, and Kennedy wasn't the kind of man to accept second place. He knew America needed a bold, unifying goal. Late one night in May 1961, after a long meeting with his advisors, Kennedy stood up, leaned across the table, and said, "We're going to the moon. And we're going to do it before this decade is out." His advisors were stunned. Going to the moon? That wasn't just ambitious, it was borderline impossible. But Kennedy, with his characteristic confidence, pressed forward. "We choose to go to the moon," he later told the nation in a stirring speech at Rice University, "not because it is easy, but because it is hard." As he spoke those words, the country could feel his conviction. Kennedy wasn't just asking for a national effort, he was demanding it. His vision of space exploration was more than just a Cold War tactic. For Kennedy, space represented hope, innovation, and the boundless potential of humanity. His famous moon speech became a rallying cry for the American people, and his passion for space exploration became one of the defining aspects of his presidency. But for Kennedy, the mission to the moon was personal, too. "We have to think about what comes after this," he told his closest advisors. "If we can get to the moon, what else can we do? The possibilities are endless." Little did Kennedy know, his bold vision would shape the future of not just the United States, but the entire world. Chapter 4, The Struggles of Leadership. Though Kennedy's vision was clear, the path to achieving it was anything but easy. NASA, founded only a few years earlier, was still in its infancy, and the technology to land on the moon didn't yet exist. Some members of Congress were skeptical. "How much is this going to cost?" one senator grumbled. "The country's got enough problems without chasing after the moon." Kennedy was undeterred. "If we're afraid to take risks, we'll never achieve anything great," he told his aides. But privately, he worried about the mounting pressure. The American people were watching, and the Soviet Union was already ahead in the space race. One failed mission, one disaster, and his dream could come crashing down literally. To make matters worse, Kennedy faced numerous crises on Earth. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 nearly brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, and civil rights tensions were boiling over at home. There were days when the weight of the presidency seemed almost too much to bear. "Why didn't anyone tell me being president was like walking a tightrope over a pit of sharks?" Kennedy joked to his brother Bobby. "And those sharks? They've got cameras." But even in the darkest moments, Kennedy's sense of humor shone through. One evening, after a particularly heated debate with Congress over space funding, he joked, "Maybe I should run for mayor of the moon. Less politics, more oxygen." His belief in the Apollo mission never wavered, though. In private meetings with NASA officials, Kennedy pushed them to think bigger, move faster, and innovate beyond what anyone thought was possible. "We've got to make this happen," he urged. "Not just for the country, but for the future. We're proving that humanity can reach beyond the stars." Despite the obstacles, Kennedy's leadership kept the mission on course. It was a testament to his ability to inspire, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. "When the history books are written," he told his staff one night, I want them to say we were bold enough to dream and brave enough to make those dreams a reality. Chapter 5, The Tragic Loss. On November 22, 1963, a dark shadow fell over the nation. President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, sending shockwaves across the globe. The world mourned the loss of a leader who had inspired hope, progress, and the audacity to dream big. The Apollo mission, Kennedy's bold vision of landing a man on the moon, now faced an uncertain future. Lyndon B. Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy as president, made it clear that he would carry forward Kennedy's legacy, including his ambitious space program. "We're not just going to the moon because Jack wanted it," Johnson said in a televised address. "We're going because it's the future he saw for all of us." Kennedy's death left a gaping hole, not just in the political landscape but in the hearts of the American people. For many, the Apollo mission became more than just a goal, it was a tribute to the president who had dared to believe in the impossible. As NASA engineers and astronauts pressed forward, they kept Kennedy's words close to their hearts. "We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard." Those words became their guiding light, a reminder that the mission wasn't just about science or technology, it was about pushing the boundaries of human potential. Though Kennedy didn't live to see the fulfillment of his vision, his influence lingered in every decision, every challenge, and every triumph along the way. His dream of landing on the moon had become a national mission, and the country was determined to see it through in his honor. Chapter 6, The Apollo Mission Takes Flight. With Kennedy's vision as their compass, NASA ramped up the Apollo program. The road to the moon was paved with setbacks and triumphs, each step a testament to human perseverance. By 1969, the dream was closer than ever. Apollo 11 was prepared to launch, and astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were ready to make history. On July 16, 1969, the world watched in awe as the Saturn V rocket lifted off from Kennedy Space Center. It was a moment that brought together people from all walks of life, united in wonder and anticipation. Kennedy's dream was finally taking shape, and the whole world was watching. As the astronauts soared through space, Armstrong famously radioed back to Earth, "The eagle has wings." It was a poetic moment, one that captured the spirit of the entire mission. On July 20, 1969, Neil Armstrong descended from the lunar module and became the first human to set foot on the moon. His words echoed across the globe, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." For the American people, it was a moment of triumph, a fulfillment of Kennedy's vision. The impossible had become possible, and humanity had proven that the sky was no longer the limit. The Apollo mission wasn't just a victory for the United States, it was a victory for all of humanity. Chapter 7, The Moon Landing's Legacy. The success of Apollo 11 left an indelible mark on history. Kennedy's dream of landing a man on the moon had become a reality, and the world had witnessed the power of human ingenuity and perseverance. But the Apollo mission wasn't just about reaching the moon, it was about the journey there and what it meant for the future. The moon landing sparked a new era of innovation and exploration. It shows that with determination and vision, even the most impossible goals could be achieved. For decades to come, the Apollo mission would inspire scientists, engineers, and dreamers alike. Kennedy's legacy lived on, not just in the footprints left on the lunar surface, but in the spirit of curiosity and exploration that it ignited in people around the world. But perhaps the greatest lesson of the Apollo mission was one of unity. For one brief moment, the world came together to celebrate a shared achievement. It didn't matter where you were from or what language you spoke, yet the sight of humanity reaching beyond Earth's boundaries was a triumph for everyone. As Kennedy had predicted, the Apollo mission wasn't just about going to the moon, it was about what came next. It was about opening new frontiers, pushing the limits of what was possible, and proving that when people work together, they can achieve extraordinary things. Chapter 8, The Benefits of Space Exploration. While the moon landing was a monumental achievement, the benefits of the Apollo mission extended far beyond that historic moment. The technological advancements made during the Apollo program revolutionized industries on Earth. NASA's research led to innovations in fields like telecommunications, medicine, and computer science. The mission had been a catalyst for technological growth that transformed the way people lived and worked. The space program also brought new knowledge about the universe and our place in it. Scientists gained valuable insights into the composition of the moon, the Earth's atmosphere, and the origins of the solar system. These discoveries laid the groundwork for future space exploration and deepened humanity's understanding of the cosmos. But perhaps the most profound impact of the Apollo mission was its ability to inspire. The sight of astronauts walking on the moon sparked a sense of wonder and curiosity in generations of young people. Schools and universities saw a surge in interest in science and engineering, as students dreamed of one day exploring the stars themselves. Kennedy's vision had set the stage for a future in which space exploration would become a permanent part of human life. His legacy wasn't just about the moon landing, it was about igniting the human spirit to reach for the stars and beyond. Chapter 9, The Continuing Journey. Even after the Apollo mission, Kennedy's vision for space exploration continued to shape the future. NASA embarked on new missions to explore Mars, study distant galaxies, and unlock the secrets of the universe. Each new discovery built on the foundation laid by the Apollo program, proving that the journey to the moon was only the beginning. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan announced plans for the International Space Station, a collaborative effort between the U.S. and other nations to establish a permanent presence in space. The spirit of cooperation that Kennedy had envisioned for the Apollo mission now extended beyond national borders, uniting countries in the pursuit of knowledge and discovery. The dream of space exploration, first sparked by Kennedy's bold vision, became a guiding principle for future generations. It wasn't just about landing on the moon, it was about pushing the boundaries of human potential and exploring the farthest reaches of the cosmos. As NASA continued its mission, the legacy of the Apollo program remained a source of inspiration. The world had witnessed the power of imagination and determination, and Kennedy's vision continued to serve as a beacon for those who dared to dream. Chapter 10, The President and the Stars. John F. Kennedy's journey from a young boy with big dreams to the president who inspired a nation is a story of vision, perseverance, and leadership. His determination to land a man on the moon wasn't just a political goal, it was a testament to his belief in the boundless potential of humanity. Kennedy's legacy lives on in the stars. Every time a rocket launches, every time a discovery is made in the far reaches of space, it is a tribute to the man who dared to dream of the impossible. His belief that humanity could achieve greatness through unity, innovation, and exploration continues to inspire people around the world. In the end, Kennedy's vision wasn't just about going to the moon, it was about proving that, as a species, we are capable of achieving anything we set our minds to. His leadership and dedication to the Apollo mission remain a shining example of what can be accomplished when we dare to dream big. And as the world continues to reach for the stars, Kennedy's words echo through time, we choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. The stars may seem far away, but with visionaries like Kennedy, they are never out of reach.